Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Welcome to my channel. The first project I have for you today is this thrifted vase. I've got it all cleaned up and the label taken off. It cost me $3, but I really like the look of it. I wanted to have some type of raised image on the jug, but I don't have any molds or stamps or anything like that. So I had to improvise and I decided to take my hot glue gun and trace the images that were already there and then let it dry completely. And I think it turned out pretty well. I put the jug aside and let it dry for a good hour before I started working on it with some home decor chalk paint in the color Parisian gray. I'm going to give it one solid coat all the way around. I never bother doing the bottom of it because you don't usually see that, but I want to make sure I get in all the nooks and crannies of that hot glue design. Now that it's completely dry, I made a mixture of baking soda and the same chalk paint. I only mixed up a little bit because I didn't want it to go to waste. I can always make more if I need to. What I like to do is use a stippling brush and pounce on top of my project. The baking soda is going to give it some really nice texture, but the pouncing is going to even increase that texture and make it look a lot like rough concrete, which is the look I'm going for. Here's a quick close-up of what it looks like. It's completely dry now. I had it sitting for a couple of hours. Now I'm going to take the same brush. I still have some gray paint on it, but I'm going to dip it very lightly in my white paint, and then I'm going to do the same motion and just stipple it around. I'm going to mostly do the bottom, a little bit at the top. I want this to look that it's aged and it's not aged perfectly. It's sort of gotten some of the white from the concrete and from the elements. Maybe it was sitting outside for a little bit. But I also do want to go over that raised image quite a bit and make sure that that is highlighted. Today's video is part of a thrift store flip collab that I host on a monthly basis, and I've got some wonderful YouTube creators joining me. Andrea Peacock, Preppy Mama, Jeter's Blessings, The Beachy Farmhouse, and DIY from House to Home. Please make sure you go down to the description box and click on that playlist link. I would also love it if you could visit each of these ladies' channels and hit that red subscribe button, hit the like button, and help their channel grow. My second project is using this frame that I had already done a couple of times. Originally it was brown, and then I put these stencils on there. Didn't really like the look of that either, so it ended up just sitting in my craft stash until I could think of something better to do with it. And I think I have. So I'm just going to take some sandpaper and sand off a little bit of that black just so it covers much better with the next coat of paint. I know I always paint everything white, but for this project, I decided to get out my chiffon cream chalk paint from Rust-Oleum, and I forgot how much I love Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I've been using my DIY chalk paint for a really long time, but this just goes on so smoothly and has superior coverage. It's my all-time favorite type of chalk paint, and I think I'm just going to have to start using it more. I did one coat on this and I let a little bit of that distressing from before peek through. I found this newspaper printable online. I'll have it linked down in my description box. And what I did was take it just into my regular photo editing program, and I just changed the color of it from black and white to more of a sepia or an old-fashioned brownish black kind of look. I'm just taking my Dollar Tree scoring tool and scoring around the edge so I know exactly where to cut. Then I'll use my paper trimmer. To apply the paper to the frame, I'm just using a glue stick. I'm going to put a generous amount all over it. I find that when I'm using thin paper like tissue paper, the Mod Podge works good because I can usually get the wrinkles out. But when I'm using thicker paper like printer paper or wrapping paper, there's too many wrinkles with Mod Podge. So I just prefer to use a regular glue stick. I'm going to go ahead and use a piece of sandpaper, just a fine grit, and go around the edges to pull up some of that original brown from the frame. And this will just make it look even more distressed and vintage. I also decided to add a little bit more dimension to the corners where the joints of the frame are, and using sandpaper didn't work that great, so I'm using the scoring tool from the Dollar Tree to pull up some of the paint and show the brown underneath. I don't know about you guys, but even using my paper trimmer, I did cut a little bit too small in a couple of areas. So I decided to take a small piece of twine and just hot glue it all the way around the inside of the frame. And I think it gave it more of a rustic look, which I really liked. I am so excited to share with you that I was contacted by Sola Wood Flowers to become an affiliate partner. Their flowers are absolutely gorgeous. You can get the skinless kind, which are these, so they're more of an ivory off-white kind of color. And then you can get some that are skin, so that just means they have a little bit of brown on them. But look at them. They are beautiful. There's so many different styles that you can purchase. I was able to choose a whole bunch of them, and surprisingly, they're not that expensive. You can get a bag of 10 for $4 or $5, and they are so pretty. So I decided to try my hand at making this shabby chic frame using these Sola wood flowers. You'll have to let me know what you think of these. And if you're interested in checking out their website, I will have my referral link down in the description box. Sola wood flowers come in all shapes and sizes from 3-inch all the way down to 1-inch. As I said earlier, you can get the skinless, which are the plain white ones, or you can get the skinned, which has some of the brown accents. And they actually are 100% made from wood. They're beautiful. You can also paint these just using a light whitewash paint and then just brush them on as you would normally. I decided then to add some lamb's ear. I think the color of the lamb's ear blended in so beautifully with these Sola wood flowers. For a final embellishment, I decided to take just a couple of strands of twine and wrap them around the top of the frame. I think that just tied in the twine that was already on the interior of the frame really nicely. You'll have to let me know what you think of those Sola wood flowers. I love them, and you'll see me using them lots more in my future videos. My last thrift flip today is this bread box for $4.99 that I picked up at the thrift store. And it's been in my stash for a little bit because I'm always just grabbing the wood pieces, but they are a little bit of a time investment. So I'm just going to take some sandpaper and just sand off a little bit of the finish on it, and just to help get rid of any stuck on things like that label. I also took off the hinges because since they're moving parts, I didn't want them to get stuck together. I used some 3M masking tape to go around the inside just to tape off where I would spray it, and then I didn't want that to go on the inside. I want the inside of the bread box to stay wood so it can be cleaned properly, and so the person who gets it or buys it will be able to just do whatever they want to the inside. I don't like having painted surfaces for my food. For the top area, I used some liner, some contact paper from the Dollar Tree, and I just went and stuck it on the inside and then taped it all around the edges. This is a little trick that I learned from Yvonne over at Ginger Chick Rehab. She just uses some scrap contact paper instead of using a whole bunch of painter's tape or masking tape. So it's a really neat idea and it worked really great. What I'm going to do first is give this one coat of Rust-Oleum paint and primer in one in flat black. I'm also using my spray paint trigger. I'll have that linked down in my description box as well. It really helps when you're spray painting a lot of projects. You don't get a cramp in your hand because you're using all of your fingers to press instead of just your forefinger and your thumb to hang on to it. Another tip that I got from Yvonne at Ginger Chick Rehab is to use a turntable because then you can easily spin your project. Now I'm going to give it a coat of clear sealer. I'm using the Rust-Oleum brand, but you can use whatever you like. And the reason I'm doing this is so it seals in the black. So once I go over it with white, it's not going to pull up any of the black paint. And it's also going to seal in any of the discoloration or stains that might be around on my project. The final step is to give it 2 coats of regular white flat latex paint. This is just a regular house paint that I'm using, but I am using my stencil brush to make sure I don't have too many brush strokes. This bread box has been sitting in my house for a couple of weeks now, and that's given the paint ample time to cure. I'm going to pull off the painter's tape on the inside to reveal a nice, clean, crisp line. I filled in the hole at the top where there was a knob with some wood filler, and then I'm just going to use some white paint to touch up where it needs and to cover up that hole. I put the wood knob back on the bottom one, and I'm just going to give it a couple of coats of chalk paint, and then it'll all get sealed in the end. I'm going to put this cute little rolling pin that I designed up on the top to camouflage where the hole from the other knob was. It was just a decorative knob. It doesn't have any purpose. So I just thought I would just cover it up. And I'm not using any transfer tape right now. I'm just using this as a sticker, which is totally fine. You can do that as well. For letters, I always use transfer tape, so I've already got breads, pies, and pastries on there. I'm just going to use my little squeegee from Cricut and get that on there. I'll do the same for the word bakery, which will go right above these letters and underneath the knob. Using fine grit sandpaper again, I'm just going to go around the edges and pull off some of that white paint so you can see the black underneath. Sometimes I went a little too far and it brought out the wood, but that's okay too. That just gives it more of a vintage farmhouse look. I'm really happy with how this bread box turned out, and I hope you like it too. If you enjoyed these thrift store flips, I would love for you to hit that like button. That tells YouTube that you enjoyed it and they will promote me more, which helps my channel grow. Don't forget to check out the playlist for all the other creators that are taking part in my thrift store flip collab today. If you're new to my channel, coming over from someone else, or you've never seen me before, I'd love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. That black arrow will point you in the right direction. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Bye for now.